Welcome to this week's What's for Dinner video. My name is Ashley and I'm going to be showing you 3 different meals I made this week. I don't always follow recipes exactly, but if you are interested, I have linked some similar recipes down below. The first dinner I'm going to be showing you is some poblano, peppers, and chicken tacos. So I'm just going to start off by cutting my poblano peppers into strips. I did only use 1 poblano pepper in this recipe and it did feed about 3 people. And then I'm going to take part of a red onion and basically do the same thing. I'm just going to lightly season the peppers and the onions in some onion powder and some cumin. I'm just going to give that a stir and then I'm going to set it aside and start working on the chicken. So I just trimmed the fat off the chicken breast and now I'm going to cut it into some thin strips. You will see I like to cut the strips pretty thin. So then I'm just going to start seasoning the chicken. I'm just doing the same thing. I'm using some vegetable oil, some cumin, some onion powder, and some garlic powder. I also like to add paprika just to give it more of a red tint. So I'm just going to mix it all together and then I'm just going to add whatever else I think is needed. So the next step is I'm going to start working on some pico de gallo. So I'm just going to chop up an onion. This time I'm going to dice it. And then I'm just going to do the same thing with a tomato. My number 1 hack for cutting cilantro is to roll it first. So then I'm just going to add a little bit of lime juice, some salt, and some pepper, and I'm going to mix it all together. The next thing I'm going to work on is my Mexican rice, so I'm just adding some oil and 1 cup of rice. I'm going to stir that around until it is nice and toasted, and then I'm going to add the seasonings. I'm going to add some cumin, some garlic salt, and some onion powder. Once that gets fragrant and toasted, I'm going to add about 4 ounces of tomato sauce. For 1 cup of rice, I like to add 2 cups of water, and then I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of chicken bouillon and 1 teaspoon of tomato bouillon. I like to use a whisk just to make sure everything is well combined. Once I bring it up to a boil or a rapid simmer, I'm just going to turn the heat down and put a lid on it. So next I'm going to start cooking the chicken, so I'm just adding a little bit of vegetable oil and adding the chicken. So I'm going to cook it on about medium heat until it's cooked all the way through. Once it's done cooking, I'm just going to remove it to a bowl and start cooking up the peppers and the onions. I have my pans still set on about medium heat, and I'm going to cook them up until they're all nice and wilted. Once they're done, I'm just going to add the chicken back to the pan, and this is how it looked when it was done. The rice was done after about 20 minutes, and then we just plated everything together. This was Monday night's meal as we watched football. The next meal I'm going to show you was some chicken pot pie casserole. So I'm going to start off with the potatoes. The number one thing I hate the most is peeling potatoes, but I had to do it for this casserole. As you see, I leave probably a little bit of the skin on and it's fine. So then I'm just going to chop up the potatoes into small bite-sized pieces. My fiance and I both love potatoes, so I did make sure to use a lot of them. So now I'm just going to do the same thing with the chicken. I am just trimming off some of the fat, and then I'm going to dice them up again into bite-sized pieces. So then I'm just going to season the chicken with a little bit of oil, some garlic salt, some onion powder, and some garlic powder. To the pan, I'm just going to add a little bit of oil and add the chicken. I'm going to cook the chicken on about medium heat until it's cooked all the way through. Once the chicken was done, I just removed it to a clean bowl, and then I'm going to get started on the casserole. So I'm going to start out by making a roux with some flour and some butter. So then I'm just going to add some chicken broth. I just used the chicken bouillon powder and some warm water, so I made that ahead in a cup. I'm just going to mix that all together until it's all combined, and then I'm just going to add my potatoes to start cooking. Once I feel like they're starting to become tender, I'm just going to add my mixed vegetables. After about a minute, I added in my heavy cream. Once everything looks like it's just about done, I just added back my chicken. So then I'm just going to take a small baking dish and add the casserole. So I went ahead and quartered some biscuits to add on top of the casserole. This will go in the oven at about 350 degrees till the biscuits are done, or for about 20 minutes. This is how everything looked when it was done. It was a really nice fall meal. So the last meal I'm going to show you, I just made some Panko chicken pasta. So I'm just going to season the chicken a little bit with some garlic powder and some onion powder. And then I'm going to bread the chicken by dipping it in some egg wash and putting it inside the panko. And then I'm just going to pour enough oil to fry the chicken in a medium pan. Once the oil was hot enough, I'm just going to place each piece of chicken inside the oil. And then I'm just going to let them fry on both sides until they're brown. When the chicken is done, I just let the excess oil drip off, and then I'm just putting it on a drying rack. So I'm going to get started working on the sauce, so I am just going to make a roux. And then I'm just going to add in my heavy whipping cream and whisk it all around until there's no more lumps. I am just making a little bit more of a Cajun pasta, so I am just using my Slap Ya Mama Cajun seasoning. The pasta that I used was some rigatoni, so once that was done cooking, I just drained it and added it into the sauce. Try to make you understand this isn't how it's meant to be. So this is how the pasta looked when it was done. I just cut up some of the chicken, put it on top, served it with some oven roasted broccoli and a piece of garlic bread for my fiance. Thank you so much for watching this week's What's for Dinner video. Make sure you come back next week for another one.